Alright guys, welcome back. It's Thursday. A bit of a rainy day here in Sydney. Feels like I'm opening up a journal here, but I'm not. I'm just trying to break the ice, let's say. Anyways, so very slow day today and tomorrow, okay? Most of the big news that we had was between Monday to Wednesday. Even Wednesday, we didn't have much things happening. And then now on Thursday and Friday, we will have some medium impact, mostly events, okay? And I'm here to break it down, those events. And don't forget, guys, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up on this video. If you have any questions regarding the content of this video or any questions regarding anything on the financial markets, please comment down below and I will be happily answering those questions for you when I have a bit of a time, okay? A few things are very rushed sometimes here. All right, let's get into it. So looking at the economic calendar here, we're going to have today at 12:30 in 1 hour and 6 minutes the PPI and the CPI for China. The PPI is year over year, so from last January 2023 to January 2024. So whatever they say year over year, it doesn't mean that it's from January to December, okay? It's always going to be January to January, February to February, March to March, April to April, May to May, June, June, July, July, and that goes for it. So whatever you see on economic calendar that says year over year, now you know how and what does that mean. So if, for instance, here we have Jan, so we have year over year and then Jan, so that means that it's from last January 2023 to this January 2024. Okay, so that's a very simple understanding that you need to have when looking to economic calendar. And then we're going to have the CPI year over year as well, same thing, and the CPI month over month. So that means that month over month, the month of January. So from January last month to now, what was the inflation, the CPI, the consumer price index on what the people buy. Now, if we look here, we have different things, okay? We have the PPI and the CPI. PPI is the producer price index and the CPI is the consumer price index. So we basically have both extremes, but they do work together, okay? Because the PPI goes for the business and the CPI goes for the society. So whatever, you know, the producer price index shows us, most probably it will reflect into the CPI, because the inflation that they are taking to produce or goods and services, this will be reflected on the CPI, all right? So they send it over, of course, they need to charge their work, they need to charge, you know, they have people to pay, they, you know, all the laboring costs and everything, so they need to charge it back on the product, so then they can do the profit. So this is how a business maintain themselves on the game. So this is pretty much it, okay? We're going to have PPI and we're going to have CPI. Now, the numbers are, for PPI, the consensus is at negative 2.6, as the previous was negative 2.7. So we are expecting a little bit of a decline on the producer price index side, okay? Now, once we look to the CPI, month over month, we're expecting a 0.3 up move, because the previous one was at 0.1% and the consensus now for January last month is at 0.4%. So that is 0.3% higher than expected. Higher than the previous, okay? And the CPI year over year is expected to drop more, because the previous was negative 2.3%, negative 0.3%, and the consensus now is negative 0.5%, so 0.2 more from what the previous one. So when we look this data, there is a lot of mixed information here. Feels like we're going to have, you know, somewhere between positive to negative, or even on the meter. My take is that we may have a PPI as expected, okay, for the whole year, because China did have a growth, but it's smaller than what they expected. And the CPI year over year, I do expect that the CPI will have an increase there, the inflation as well as the PPI. And the CPI month over month, most probably they will, yes, have a higher inflation, okay, from the previous. Now, this is from China. If we do look a little bit for tomorrow, we do have some members speaks, okay, from Europe. We're going to have, of course, the initial jobless claims for the US. That is consensus 221,000, and the previous was 224,000. So not much changing there. But what's most important here, of course, is the ECB Elderson speaks, as well as the Bank of Europe Monetary Policy Committee member Men speaks as well, and ECB's Lane speaks as well, okay? And then German CPI, we get January from last year to January this year, and then we're going to have the numbers, all right? The consensus is at 2.9%, the previous was 3.7%, so there is, of course, a little bit of inflation coming down from Europe, and as well, ECB have mentioned that already, okay? So stay tuned for today, stay tuned for tomorrow, and I'll catch you in the next video. But please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up on this video. I'm going to be running a webinar this night, 8 to 9 p.m. So if you want to join us, please feel free. I'm going to be discussing those types of news. I'm going to be discussing some trades that I've took already on my portfolio this year, and answering your questions. So thank you for today, and I see you in the next video.